I'm grateful this morning to have the opportunity to bring you a reading from Howard Thurman, who's way at the top of my list of really, really fine theologians in our generation and time. As I put together my resource on trauma care for pastors, I reached out to the Howard Thurman estate for permission to use one of his poems. And I didn't hear back from them for a long time, and then they sent me a note and said, well, to put it in your book, it'll cost this exorbitant amount of money. So I wrote to them. I wrote to the foundation director, and I sent her a copy of the chapter, and she said, we want you to bring Howard Thurman's words to the healing of the world. He would want that as a great theologian and a great heart that he had to care with compassion for people in his own community, in his Black community, but all people with suffering. So I can understand why our chaplain would have picked Howard's work to bring her reflection to you today. So this is his poem from The Growing Edge and from the Fellowship Church in San Francisco. Look well to the growing edge. All around us, worlds are dying, and new worlds are being born. All around us, life is dying, and life is being born. The fruit ripens on the tree, the roots are silently at work in the darkness of the earth, against a time when there shall be new leaves, fresh blossoms, green fruit. Such is the growing edge. It is the extra breath from the exhausted lung, the one more thing to try when all else has failed, the upward reach of life when weariness closes in upon all endeavor. This is the basis of hope in moments of despair, the incentive to carry on when times are out of joint and men have lost their reason, the source of confidence when worlds crash and dreams whiten to ash, the birth of the child, life's most dramatic answer to death. This is the growing edge. May we receive this word. Amen.
In the spiet misty morning, when the moon has gone to bed, when the sparrows stop their singing, and the sky is pure and red, when the summer ceased its gleaming, when the corn is past its prime, when adventure's lost its meaning, I'll be homeward bound in time. Bind me not to the pasture, chain me not to the plow, set me free to find my calling, and I'll return to you somehow.
If you find it's me you're missing, if you're hoping I'll
the wind will set me racing as our journey nears its end,
and the path I'll be retracing as I'm homeward bound again.
Bind me not to the pasture, chain me not to the plow.
Set me free to find my calling, and I'll return to
you somehow. Bind me not to the pasture, chain me not to the plow. Set me free to find my calling,
and I'll return to
return somehow. And I'll return to you somehow.
The reading from Howard Thurman encapsulates this shared ambition we spoke of love and liberation. He was a groundbreaker, a preacher, a theologian, a mystic, a teacher, who helped imagine forms of Christian community wide enough for the fractures of the modern world. If you picture this is 1944 in San Francisco. He founded this church for the fellowship of all peoples in San Francisco. And by all peoples, I mean all peoples, 1944, folks. It's pretty amazing. It was intentionally interracial, intentionally interfaith, intentionally intercultural. Its very existence was an experiment in belonging, and whose remarkable vitality drew people, Thurman's remarkable vitality, drew people across the lines of race, religion, culture, and class. It was a shared spiritual collective. He wrote Jesus and the Disinherited, a small book with a long reach. It interpreted Jesus through the experience of those who live with their backs against the wall. His thought helped shape the spirituality of nonviolence and influenced leaders such as Martin Luther King. In fact, it is said that he rarely went anywhere without that book in hand. But Thurman was not interested in courage as mere toughness. He was interested in the deep, steady life of the Spirit, the place inside us where Spirit speaks, beneath the noise, where dignity survives, where new life begins, even when we cannot see or feel it. He does not deny that worlds are dying and new worlds are being born. He reminds us of something we may have forgotten, but really have always known, that in the dark soil, in the hidden spaces, in the seasons where we feel worn thin, something in us still reaches out. Something in us is still alive. Something in us is still becoming. Thurman calls this the extra breath from the exhausted lung. And many of us know exactly what that feels like. That moment when we're not strong enough to feel triumphant, not certain, and yet we continue to breathe. And this is what living systems do when they keep responding to their environment. Life does not wait for ideal conditions before it begins the work of becoming. Like the lotus flower, whose roots find purchase in the muck and the mud, still we strive to bloom, sometimes against all the evidence that we will not exceed in doing so. We often imagine thriving as something that happens after the crisis ends, after the grief lifts, after the world becomes less frightening. But Thurman's growing edge is not located in time at all. Right now, right here at this moment, it is the present time, and that is where it is. Right here, in the muck and the mud we did not choose. In the circumstances we did not plan, in the reality we simply cannot escape. Thurman understood that the work is not about avoiding the dark, it is about trust. Trust that our roots work to stabilize us, even when we cannot see them. Trust that we will breathe it once again once our heads reach the surf. And the growing edge, as understood by Thurman, is not a place of perfection, but a place of possibility. As a contemplative Christian humanist, Thurman was inspired by the gospel. He saw how Jesus spoke of seeds falling into the earth and rising again, how Paul wrote of creation groaning in labor pains. He recognized the growing edge as simply another way of understanding the power of resurrection. Not the dramatic kind with trumpets and angels, but the quiet kind found in small acts of courage that no one knows about and no one applauds. Like getting out of bed when it all feels too much, or choosing to stay in bed when it all feels too much, both of which honor our growing edge. Let us name this clearly. It takes courage to resurrect oneself, I'd say. And in some cases, resurrection might seem counterintuitive in a world that can feel almost inhospitable. So let us reframe the act of resurrection as something a bit more human. Shall we? Let's call it thriving. It's a verb, and that's important. It's a clue. Thriving is not only experienced when life cooperates with all of our wishes, and then gone as soon as those things go sideways. Instead, it can be a lived practice of resilience, rootedness, and becoming, even when circumstances are complicated. In fact, there are seasons when thriving is literally an act of defiance. Who's feeling that right now? Gosh. There are seasons when to keep loving, to keep hoping, to keep showing up with an open heart is not naive at all. But it is possibly the most courageous thing you can do. This is why thriving is really not the opposite of suffering. Because thriving is something we do inside real life, not instead of it and not despite it. Think of it as if suffering is a condition, thriving then is a good response. The truth is that thriving is the ongoing movement of the spirit toward wholeness. It is not the opposite of suffering, but perhaps it is better understood as a companion to it. If you are suffering, what is better than a good companion? To thrive courageously does not mean we deny the pain of the world. It means we refuse to hand over our whole imagination to it. We let grief teach us compassion, but not contempt. We let anger teach us justice, but not cruelty. We let exhaustion teach us how to rest, but not hopelessness. There is a holy courage in refusing to let despair become our only teacher. There is courage in planting gardens in uncertain times. This courage to thrive despite our difficulties is our growing edge. Seems kind of hard, yes? But I'm nothing if not optimistic, and I've learned something rather simple that I promise will make this easier. It turns out the best kind of thriving is that is done communally. We can borrow courage from one another. When my hope is thin, I may need your song. When your grief is heavy, you may need my steady presence. When one of us cannot yet see our growing edge, the rest of us can keep watch for you. We can say, and we must say, rest in me, and I shall rest in you. Thurman knew that human beings steady one another, regulate one another, and become more alive when in community. He knew that growing edge is rarely solitary. It is nurtured by belonging. So when Thurman tells us to look well to the growing edge, he is not asking us to simply be optimistic. He is asking us to be honest about the dying and the rising, about the grief and the gratitude, about the fear and the courage. He is asking us to pay attention to the small places where life is stirring again. Can you hear it? It might just be a whisper that says, it's okay, keep going, you got this. It may be as loud as thunder saying, do it now, idiot. These are our growing edge moments. Are you in a season where your growing edge feels very small, perhaps thin? Is your hope quiet? Do your roots feel tired? When your growing edge feels small, Thurman does not ask you to force a bloom. He asks you to honor the rest your roots may need. Rest if you must. Give yourself permission. Look well to the slight stirring. If hope is only a thread for you right now, hold on to that thread. Let this tiny grasp be your quiet refusal, your resistance. If you are blooming right now, let yourself bloom without apology. Let your joy feed others, not by performing happiness, but by being honestly alive. Let your steadiness offer shelter. Let your gratitude sharpen your responsibility rather than dull it. And if you are somewhere in between, as most of us are, then welcome to the human condition. I urge you to name that thing. Call it out. Today I am sorrow, but tomorrow I am joy. Stay with me. I am your friend. Hold my hand. Rest in me, and I shall rest in you. Root and stem, darkness and dawn, weariness and wonder. A congregation at its best is a place where people can root, rise, and rest. And you may open then in your own time. I ask that you try to meet each other there, wherever you are at. May we look well to the growing edge in every season, in the dark and in the blooming, in the waiting and the rising, in the grief that deepens us as the joy that steadies us. May we trust the hidden work of our roots, listen for the whisper, rage loudly over the thunder when we must. Amen, and may it be so.